Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate on the East Coast. We are looking into this now very interesting Brooklyn and Milwaukee series here. We are tied 2-2 going into Game 5. Obviously, the storyline is Kyrie's ankle not playing, nor is James Harden for this Game 5. So we'll see what KD and his ragtag bunch of role players have in store for the Bucks. As always, if you do need a FanDuel account, make sure you head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those listings in your area and those NBA playoff promo specials, plenty of them to choose from. And if you are not yet liked and subscribed to the page, make sure you do so. Jump in the comments, having some fun seeing who you guys are betting on this playoffs. A lot to talk about. Nate, let's jump into Game 5 for this series.
Yeah, so the Nets are now +4 at home with those two guys basically ruled out. Kyrie and James Harden unlikely to play. They're +155 on the money line, at least at DraftKings. And the total is 217.5. We've seen the last two games go way under, and it's dropping indeed, but still 217. It is exploitable to go under. The first thing I would want to talk about in light of what happened in Game 4, though, is the futures market, Josh. And yeah. I mean, Milwaukee now -150, -180 some places to win this series. That's a foolish bet in my mind, because I've always said the winner of this series will win the title. After Milwaukee's first two games coming out, we thought it was a pretty obvious, okay, well, Brooklyn's winning the title. But the tables have turned. I think if the Bucks can get past this Nets team, they've won 5 straight against Philly. That's not a great matchup for the Sixers. I think that they can get to the finals, and, we'll see what happens from there. Obviously getting ahead of myself a little bit, because I still like the Nets in Game 5. And that's something to think about if you're looking at the futures market, right? Is like if Milwaukee's +450 to win the title right now versus their terrible odds to just win the series, wait for them to go down 3-2 and see what kind of odds you can get on them winning the title as we go back to Milwaukee. In any case, to me, it's not a case of that the Nets need Kyrie to win this game, that they didn't necessarily need a huge performance from him to win Game 1 or Game 2. It was all about their defense, right? Holding the Bucks to putrid 14 for 57 shooting from 3, packing it in, forcing the Bucks to play a little bit out of character by launching some ill-advised threes, taking the strengths away from Giannis down the stretch. Some of those things have not been there in Milwaukee. But in terms of Blake Griffin maybe not being the miracle Giannis stopper we saw, but Nicholas Claxton is a great defender who's giving Giannis a lot of problems. Drew Holiday has still not found his rhythm. Chris Middleton, aside from that huge Game 3, struggling on offense. And I think, the one thing we can rely on, Josh, is a lack of offense from the road team in this game. Brooklyn much better defensively at home since the All-Star break than I think people really noticed. They started the year playing a ton of shootouts, but they can really lock up, and they're very good defending the three-point line. I would look again under Milwaukee's total of 110, which is they've gone under, I think, every game this series.
Yep, that's the starting point for me. And I'm not really sure what they've shown yet to make you believe that their offense is going to find some kind of rhythm. It's stalled entirely. Obviously, it's not the same as playing, even the Heat right now in terms of, what they're able to do on offense. I think, obviously, we think of the Heat as a great defensive team. But in that series, what was happening there is there's no third defender to come off and guard someone like Drew Holiday. There wasn't really anybody to other than Jimmy Butler to try to handle Chris Middleton even. So a lot of the role players and those two guys specifically were able to get off against the Heat. And honestly, it's like you said, it's a little surprising to say, but that's not the case once they brought in Blake Griffin, who's a very switchable defender on the wing and even up top and a little bit down low. Not quite a Giannis stopper at all. Neither is Claxton for that matter, but they're both, doing their best. We'll give them that. But at any rate, they do both switch well onto quicker, smaller people. And Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday or at least, they fit that model of player that is a little bit more guardable for the Nets, I believe. And look, it is going to come down to what you said in terms of, at this point, there is no choice for the Nets for it to be anything other than the role players coming in and doing something, which, in the last 2 games, anybody not named Kevin or Kyrie has combined for 87 points in 2 games. That's a ton of guys not putting up any points. Specifically, we want to call out, obviously, Joe Harris and Bruce Brown, who have really quieted down since they went on the road. And look, honestly, it was a little bit of an oddity to me in terms of what Nash was doing with his rotations. I think, guys like Mike James and Bruce Brown, who can at least contribute on offense, are going to be needed at this point because, like you said, the Bucks, I'm happy to take their under team total right there because they haven't shown me anything on offense. And at this point, it's really just a matter of, are the Nets, surprisingly, we need to ask the question, can they score enough points? So look, it's going to, for me, in terms of what they can do, obviously Kevin Durant needs to be the person putting up the points, but he also needs a guard there to initiate the offense with him. So I am going to look at Mike James props. I do think that, the conversation with him needs to be, you're a point guard first right now. You're not playing for a spot in the G League where you need to put up numbers. So don't worry as much about the points. His first 2 games in this series, he combined to, for 22, 10, and 6. In the first 2 at home. So you want to look at what he's going to be able to do in this game. I think either way, look at the unders, look at this to be a little bit more of a slobber knocker than you might have originally thought from this series. And specifically, like I said, best bet that under on the Bucks team total.
Yeah, I mean, a key thing for me in this, as we transition back to Brooklyn, targeting the home teams in terms of the officiating, it's just PJ Tucker got away with so much in that game 4 at the outset that really took Durant out of rhythm. He was hand checking him at every single turn, tapping him on the shots, but, getting physical. Durant was upset. Rightly so. And that was a Scott Foster led crew, right? Which is always an anomaly in terms of NBA officiating. Not that he's a bad official, but that he just doesn't give 2 craps about the fact that you're a superstar. I don't know who's officiating game 5, but it's anyone else. And when you put your hands on Kevin Durant as he's going up to shoot, I think you're going to hear that whistle blow in Brooklyn. And that once that starts happening, that's why the Nets won game 1 and 2, right? Is because the Bucks could not guard Durant. They were then stuck in rotation as the ball wings around to all those great shooters the Nets have. They did not necessarily need Kyrie to make that happen. He was doing a great job of attacking, making the extra pass. But Mike James, a very, very capable backup. Not to say he has the explosion or capability of Kyrie, but I just don't think that they lose that much offensively with him out, and that makes up for the lift that they're going to get going back home after how impressive they were in games 1 and 2. I trust them to win this game, and I love the fact that you're getting plus money on it.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's something I would want to talk about briefly, which is KD coming back home, and starting with the fact that, like you said, PJ Tucker came out and decided early that the refs were going to have to call fouls on his physical play because he was going to play that way early. Once they didn't, then he was able to go, well, you didn't call that earlier, so now you can't, call it now, really setting the tone for what you're talking about there. And in the 2 games that he, away from home so far in this series, Kevin Durant shot an average of 8 free throws. And you expect that to be the talk everywhere this week is KD didn't get the calls that he should have. A lot of the pressure, plus he is going to be at home. I think you can expect him to get to the line, hopefully about, 10 times. I think if he's able to sort of control the game in that way, you might be able to, feel good about his points total there, specifically in a player performance double, where if he does get 35 points and a Brooklyn Nets win, you get plus 350 on your money. I love on FanDuel, as you pointed out to me earlier. I really like that one because I think if you think the Brooklyn Nets are going to pull out game 5, as both of us are starting to feel pretty good about. You got to think that KD's going to be in there throughout. He's going to have, his game. He seemed flustered by the time, that Kyrie was out. The Bucks were already on that run. When he wasn't getting the calls, he was getting frustrated. I think he's got a lot more time to reset and come out. And like I said, as long as he has somebody, at least between, even honestly, Tyler Johnson, Mike James, Bruce Brown, somebody else that can at least handle the ball a little bit to be able to help him play off of it for a minute and get to his spot. So that is one player performance double I'll look at there. And that is all the time that we have for this game, Nate. There's going to be storylines aplenty. I know we're both going to be checking out what's going on tonight. Make sure that you are liked and subscribed to that page, y'all. Jump in the comments. We'll be in there checking out what you guys have to say as well. Back with another video very soon for you. And until then, happy betting.